Jay on? I can't see him.
Hi, everybody. It's Tom.
Hey, Tom.
I wasn't able to get in on the Zoom meeting. No one was inviting me in. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a VIP anymore.
Brandon Johnson
Here.
and Robert Dobry. I'm here. Did we find Jay? Is he on?
I haven't heard Jay.
I haven't heard Jay.
Nope.
And Kelly McCabe, our attorney,
Here.
and Bryson McCabe, our other attorney.
Yep, here as well.
We've got Bryson sitting in tonight for the meeting. We're not charging for his time, but he will be the attorney at the next meeting, and I just wanted a little continuity. But we aren't charging MCHD for his time today.
Great. Thank you.
Good to see you, Brandon. Can't even get that out right.
I guess we'll start with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have who seconded?
Brandon.
Brandon. Any more discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Oh, it's Jay calling. I think I hung up on him. He's probably trying to get in. So next on the reports are the SHS report for the board minutes.
All right. Oh, it looks like you guys just let me in. I'll join here in a second by computer, but I'll do this by phone. Things are going pretty well. Tony and I were talking about a number of things today, including the number of vaccinations that we've been able to provide to the community and the assist that we've been giving to other agencies in the community. Really think when you look at the country as a whole, we're really knocking it out of the park in terms of vaccinations down here in this corner of Colorado. And I think we're even doing better than other parts of Colorado. So we're feeling very fortunate how well COVID vaccinations have been going. Another highlight of what we discussed today was, probably a little over a year ago at this point, we had a number of people waiting in line to try and get, in order to become a patient at Southwest Health System. And due to some of the recruiting that's been done, as well as just the organization that we have in place right now, we've been able to eliminate that waiting list, which, in my opinion, is a good indicator of patient satisfaction and customer satisfaction with the hospital. So things are going well. It's been a pretty quiet week in terms of any issues that have come up, but I'll hand it off to Tony to jump in with a little more information from his chair.
Sure. Yeah, just to follow up a little bit of what Tom was talking about is you've been following the numbers. We were able to do almost 2,000 vaccinations last week. We're going to do, I think about 1,600 this week, and already have doses for 1,300 next week. So we are really picked it up after our initial very slow start where we were unable to get supplies to actually do the vaccination. But fortunately, we got some help from several different areas and made a little noise and was able to get the attention of the Capitol and got some things started rolling this way. So we're pleased that that's happening. Otherwise, as far as COVID, if you've been watching the numbers, it's definitely been a positive trend the last couple of weeks. We've seen the number of positive tests go down considerably. And at the same time, we're actually doing considerably less testing than we've been doing for the last several months. So we're seeing those trends come down too. So, we don't not sure exactly what that means, whether this is something that's here to stay or whether we're just seeing a little bit of a lull. You recall last year we went through a slow period where we were not already seeing anything when the rest of the country was, and unfortunately it came back and bite us later in the year. So we'll see. We're certainly hoping that positively that it will certainly stay on track. But, that's about all I have from that standpoint, unless anybody has any particular questions.
Well, I don't have any question, but Tony, I want to say I got a shot yesterday, and I was impressed at how effective and efficient everybody was in moving a lot of people through. And I hope you're telling your employees what a great job they're doing.
Yeah, that is a well-oiled machine right now. They definitely have the process down. We've been, like I said, the numbers we've been able to get through has been pretty amazing. And yeah, they've been doing an excellent job with that.
You got
Tony,
one
this
hell
is
of a,
Bill.
you got one hell of a group there, Tony. Because Jenny and I
Yeah,
got
thank you
ours
very much.
Monday. And those people really are on top of everything and fantastic.
Yes, they are. Yeah, thank you for that.
Tony, this
Appreciate
is
it.
Bill. Tony, this is Bill. I was
Yeah.
there about 2 hours ago and got my second one, and I'll second everything that's been said.
Well, thank you. I
you
will
feeling,
pass
Bill?
that along.
You there, Dean?
Okay.
Dean? Rob?
Dean's on mute.
I'm here. I'm here.
Dean is not. Where's what happened? Is he out now? Bill?
Yeah, I think we lost Dean.
It looks like Dean may have dropped off. Can we, can Rick just continue on with the financials, the SHS?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. If you guys remember a little bit, we covered a good part of this last month with with when we shared a little bit of our December financials. So basically, Leah, if you'll page down to the income statement, I think it's 2 more pages. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, we had we did pretty well for our last month of the year. Again, $11 million of gross patient revenues on a budget of 10.2. We turned that into net revenue of about $6.19 million. We did book some CARES Act money of about 1.8, and to kind of cover that piece is the CARES Act money is there to offset like a revenue calculation. So you can either apply it against current year or prior year or budget. I'm sorry, you can apply it against budget or prior year. So we took a fairly conservative approach. We have our auditors that have been working on our audit this week, and they'll be here on Monday. So we may end up seeing that adjusted a little bit. We also are trying to book an estimated cost report projection. From a salary standpoint, I know this is Gayla's question probably the most. Why were we at 1.97? Part of that, we did a COVID bonus that kind of grossed out at about $175,000, and then we accrued PTO, and we grossed out. It was based on hours of service for last year, and the lowest was $25 if you've just been there a couple of weeks. The highest was $400, and we kind of grossed that up net of tax. We also did, took care of some other things in the year, such as inventories, and had a pretty good year. Preliminary audit results, we're not going to have major audit adjustments. So feel pretty good about that. And then the job our team has done. You're going to see supplies. They're a little bit higher, but again, with some of the PPE and things like that we've been buying throughout the year to keep our team safe, as well as some of the antibiotics and pharmaceutical related items, trying to keep our folks safe. Leah, if you'll go ahead and any questions on that?
Nope.
No.
Kelly, Leah, if you'll go down to the ratios tab, these are quarterly ratios and keep going. There's our debt service schedule that Fred, I think you and Rob asked to take a look at it with Kelly. So that, again, that shows a portion. If you'll page down one more page, that shows what the sales tax is contributing versus the other piece. And this is our 13-week cash projection that shows that we finished the year at about 87.35 days. Leah, if you'll go down one more. These are our stats. I'm just shows how busy we were. We had a lot of COVID type patients, so we had an average daily census of close to 12, which is unusually high for us. It's about a little over 2 patients more than we had prior year. Go down one more. Kelly, we finally listened to you. I know basically I get accused of not paying attention. So what we did is we showed the ratios on a little bit bigger font that are readable by quarters. So hopefully that works.
Yeah, that looks great, Rick. That I can actually read it. Looks perfect. Appreciate it.
Okay, gotcha. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think Dean had accused us of putting it in lawyer print. I don't know what that means, but we tried to blow it up so everybody can read it. Thank you guys for the sympathy laughs. So if you guys can tell, we've hit our ratios. Our covenants, especially days cash on hand, return on assets, our asset test ratios, again, all positive within the lines of the documentation. And a question you guys may ask is why we dropped from 100 days to 87 days cash on hand. We did pay for about $700,000 went towards the air handling unit. Thank you guys for doing the air handling unit. We also had 3 payrolls in December. And then we had some other things we trued up. So that was the declination of decline of about 13 days cash. Lee, if you'll keep going and page down. This is our statement of cash flows, the proof. If you'll page down a little bit more, this gets us to shows where we are at about 87 days. And technically it's 87.3. Keep going, Leah.
All we gotta do is go back up.
Sir? Oh, okay. So here's our revenue cycle metrics. So our AR days are 35 days. We got our credit balances down. I think when I got here, they were about 11%. We're down under 5. Just looked at our January numbers. We're at 4. And this isn't an aggregated. We are working on our clinic balance. A lot of our clinic balance refunds are somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $4. So we're getting those things cranked out. We finished the year strong at about on an average of 116% of cash. From a hospital standpoint, and about 99% cash for the clinics. So overall, we were right under 116% in the aggregate. So just wanted to see if you guys had any questions.
No, I don't. Financials continue to look good, and I'm very pleased about that.
Yeah, thank you. It is a team effort.
You've done an excellent job on it, Rick.
Thank you, Fred. We appreciate it.
Well, that's something that would needed to get squared away, and you've done a darn good job of doing it.
Thank you.
I don't want to lose you.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
Good for you.
I'm not going anywhere. Hey, I even shoveled snow 3 times in one day. Keenan made fun of me, but that was an experience. I checked that off my bucket list. But
That's
unless you
good.
guys have any questions, I'm done.
No, I don't.
Thanks, Rick. Is Dean back on?
Dean?
I don't believe that he has gotten back on yet.
I think we
Can you
lost
hear
him.
me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There he is.
I was muted, sorry. So any more questions for Rick? Okay, we'll move on to quality with Lisa. Are you on, Lisa?
I am. Hi, everybody. My name's
Hi,
Lisa. I
Lisa.
haven't met everybody. I haven't met everybody, but most of you. I'm the quality director here at Southwest. I did want to share the report that I had shared with the SHS board last month. You can go to the next page. Thanks, Leah. I wanted to share just some overall high-level things that we've been doing as a facility in quality. The first two things, as far as the fall improvement plan and sepsis improvement plan, have been an ongoing process for 2020 and then are going to continue for 2021. These are improvement plans that go across the facility that include everybody. So we've pushed out education on both to encompass multiple levels of staff, frontline staff, ancillary staff, because it's really areas that we've identified where we want to improve our care that we're giving to our patients. So this is ongoing. I hope to, share data where we're improving these areas since we've really been focusing on those. Pain management we had worked on in 2020. It was actually a D&V finding from last year. And this is an ongoing thing. It's always those important things on ordering narcotics from physicians and how we look at that. It's a big regulatory thing. So that's an area of under a microscope at this point as well. Our COVID-19 surge planning, and I'm not quite sure what's been shared in the past with you, but along with what Tony and, Tom have really said, the team has really pulled together with how it identifies problems with specific to COVID. And obviously now we're on to vaccines and maintaining, but really, especially in November and December, we ramped up these meetings. These have been continued throughout the year, and we're still meeting weekly, but we adjust what we need to do weekly based on our needs of our patients. So really, the leadership team, everybody comes together to determine what's needed for the hospital, and really have just been tremendous in how this has played out. And, I mentioned that, we started with basically a 3-page policy and plan, and it's now over 60 pages. So obviously we've done a lot of detail building and addressed all kinds of areas with what COVID has really placed on our facility this year. So along with vaccines, there's so much in the background that's going on that's going very well. The most recent thing that I did want to share with you as well is we did have our 3-year reaccreditation survey with DNV in January. This was actually a virtual survey. It went well. We had postponed a little bit just because of our surge in November and December with patients, but we were able to complete our survey. And since the time that I wrote this, I've actually heard from DNV that our certificate is coming. It's recertified for 3 years. They will still continue to be on site every year as far as just to check up and see how we're doing and reviewing everything. But at this point, we're doing very well. We closed out every item that we had in 2019. And then this year we had one less finding from the previous year, which actually were very minimal. We've actually identified 2 of the areas have been closed out already, and a couple are just some ongoing improvements, which that's their purpose, and grateful for their input. So those are good. They really had great comments for the staff, calling us rock stars. So I really feel like we have a great team when you have a regulatory agency that wants to find everything out of the corner to identify as an improvement for you. So we were happy with that survey. this was just a high level for you, qualities, there's so much going on, but I wanted to loop you guys in and, totally open to questions and feedback and, what information is helpful to share with your team as well. So that's all I have, but thanks for letting me give a spiel.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Does anybody have any questions for Lisa?
No, she did a darn good job. And thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks
Thank
great.
you, Lisa. Okay. Moving on, I guess we'll go to our financial reports. Rob?
Let me introduce Daniel Mosier from Vector Wealth Management. He is our financial advisor, and I'm going to be working with him on some investment strategy stuff, and he wanted to give a quick presentation to the whole board.
Evening, everybody. I just wanted to thank you for all the hard work you're doing with getting COVID vaccines out. I had the joy of sitting at home the last couple of weeks dealing with COVID myself, and I'm young, but it's no joke. And through breathing difficulties and fatigue, it's something that if we can prevent it, especially in folks who are certainly more at risk, definitely appreciate everything you guys are doing. So I had sent over some documents to Leah just a moment ago. Leah, did you get a chance to upload or to pull those up, or do you want me to share my screen? What's the easiest way?
Let me see if I can let you share your screen.
Okay, that's fine. There is a way that I can do this. Oh, nope, it doesn't look like I'm able to. That's okay. So we'll just kind of go over a brief background or history of what has been done with these excess funds over the years. Right now, we have just over $750,000 in mostly in cash and then one short-term CD. I needed a few signatures. We got those today, Rob, so we are good to go. Perfect. And so page 10 is what we're going to want to focus on earlier, thank you. But in the past, so if I go back maybe 5 or 6 years, you had been involved in something similar to what we're doing, or what I'm going to suggest we do today. So what we want to focus on is U.S. Treasury and government and agency bonds that pay a decent yield. If I look at where my CDs are today, so I can buy CDs from any bank, and my CD rates today are about 0.10% for a 2-year CD, which is pretty comparable to what you'd find at any local bank, and it's just not a very attractive rate for what we're talking about. So what we want to look at is the ability to go out and buy securities that fit within what the state of Colorado says we're legally able to do. And state of Colorado allows us with public funds to go out as far as 5 years on AAA rated treasuries, agencies, and government bonds, just federal government, no state or anything like that. And so we can stay within those parameters. But one of the challenges we're finding is just on inventory, what's available to us. And what I can go out there and buy today is about 0.5% on a 5-year agency, which is not a great rate historically speaking. So what we do is we partner with Eagle Asset. Eagle has institutional level buying power because they run about $36 billion of funds across the country for a lot of different institutions, including a couple of municipalities that I use this exact strategy for public funds. We can ask them to stay within our parameters of 5 years or shorter, and it's completely liquid. So we can get a much better yield while still being very, very safe with these monies. Lee, can I have you go to the next page for me? So on the left, we can see what we're focusing on if we didn't give them specific parameters. This is what the portfolio would look like. It'd have a yield of about 2.5%, all AAA rated, some treasury, some agencies, some mortgages, some commercial backed mortgages, and then a little bit in cash. Our yield is going to be slightly lower just because we're going to tell them to stay a lot shorter. But what I really appreciate about this portfolio is not only the customization, but how safe it's been. Can I have you go one more page for us, Leah? Thank you. Okay, so this is the page that's going to go over the history going back to the year 2000. And if we look right to the right of her, basically the year-to-date column, and we go all the way down on the gross column, that's going to show us what the gross returns have been year over year. And what you're going to notice is that there's only been one down year in the last 20 years. And the strategy goes back farther than that, but I'm just showing us the last 20 years. In 2013, we had what was called the taper tantrum. So we saw some negative return of about 1%, but that's been our worst case scenario. The reason I'm showing you gross instead of net is that I'm charging as low a fees as we can possibly charge, whereas the net's going to show us the highest average fee. So our fees are going to be much lower. We're going to see really attractive yields. And if we basically every year, Rob and I are going to sit down and continue to reevaluate this. And if at any point we see CD rates back up to where they're attractive, we can move some or all of the money back into CDs. So we don't lose our flexibility. We get much better returns and try and keep up with the rate of inflation on these extra monies. And we just have a really, really safe product in order to do that. So I know that's a really quick sort of 3-minute vision of what we have, but do we have any questions on that or any thoughts before I yield the floor?
I'm not seeing this. I'm on a regular telephone, so I can't see your presentation.
Sure.
What kinds of yields are you anticipating net?
So on the yield basis alone, we're probably looking somewhere in that 1.75 to 2% range. However, by using their active management and their proprietary investments research, we tend to see a better return than the yield itself. So what they'll do is they'll buy a bond that's priced at maybe 10% over the par value, and for one reason or another, that value or that bond will go up in value, say 1 or 2%. They'll sell that bond off, capture the gains, and we end up with a much better return than just what that yield is. But even if we saw a yield in that 1.75% to 2% range, that's still a really attractive yield in today's environment when our other option is essentially zero. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
But one other question. You
Yes.
had mentioned that this was a variety of investments, including, which gives me chills, mortgage-backed securities.
Yes.
But you also said these are all insured by the federal government?
Exactly. So these are all AAA rated securities, and they have done a very good job of mitigating risk. So if we remember back in 2007, for those who have watched the movie or read the book, The Big Short, one of the problems that we had that really led to our significant recoil in the market, downturn in the market, was that there were these mortgage-backed securities that had a lot of problems. And if we just go out and buy them without any real research, there can be some concerns. But because they do a lot of deep research on these bonds to make sure that what they own is actually really good quality, in 2008, this portfolio was up almost 10%, net of fees, charges, and expenses. So they still owned a lot of mortgage-backed securities back then, and it went up by about 10% that year. So we know that we're owning safe bonds. It's been tested through one of the worst markets in our history.
But they are guaranteed one way or another? I mean, because
yes,
back in 2008, they were well rated also.
Correct.
Because the rating companies weren't looking at the underlying securities and mortgages that just were awful in some cases.
Well, exactly. You'd have 20% of the mortgages were actually good mortgages out of a big block, and so they don't rely on the ratings agencies to do their work for them. They really go out and do the research. A lot of those bonds, could have had issues, but again, they were up 10% in really the worst period. And if we ever get nervous and say, hey, I just don't like mortgage-backed securities, we can ask them to not own them. It's a very customizable portfolio. Right now, that's where we're driving a lot of our yield. And so it would be tough to want to exclude those things, but there's always that option if the finance committee or Rob and I or our institutional level research teams say, this is not a great place to be, we can restrict those things very easily.
Well, personally, just because of what I have read about what caused the crash of 2008, or 2007, 8, however you want to say it, was mortgage-backed securities that had good ratings but shouldn't have. And
exactly.
I'm still jumpy about that. Now, I don't know how anybody else feels. I'm just one person, but it scares me.
We do take the safety of this money very seriously. It's not our money. It's the public's money. And so we have to make sure we're being very careful with the public's money and that we're being very careful with my reputation and Eagle's reputation. And if they didn't do that sort of research, if they didn't have an idea of what bonds were actually making up those, or what mortgages were making up those bonds, I would not have a comfort. But because they do all of their research and they actually look at the bonds that are being made up, so they have different localities. They have all highly rated credit borrowers. So we're not buying bonds that make up, they're made of any junk bonds within inside of that. They really have to stay in AAA, but they don't really move beyond very, very highly qualified borrowers, just to make sure that they're protecting the principal. Because above everything else, above yield, above growth on principal, above everything else, they mainly focus on principal protection. They don't want to have those downtimes over and over. And you'll have this, Leah's going to send this out, I think, after the meeting. So you'll have this to be able to look through. It'll be on page 12, just to kind of walk through that performance. And you'll see 07, 08. Between those 2 years, it was up about 17 or 18% between those 2 years. So it did a tremendous job of being very safe, even throughout a very tough time in the bond market. Any other questions?
Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, thank you. Rob, we'll talk maybe tomorrow. Let's have another conversation then.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Rob,
Yeah.
financials.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not muted. All right. To continue with the financial report, we have $2,272,858.78 in net unrestricted cash. Our sales tax this month was $157,396.67. The health services, the first health services was $14,309.09, and the smaller health services was $1,076.38, for a total of $172,782.14. So that's our total tax deposit this month. I wanted to give everybody a quick update. I think I didn't mention it at the last meeting, but the quick update on the DOLA COVID reimbursement, where we had written checks to SHS and then we were paid back. And also in the consent agenda today, there's the final one for about $5,300. But we were fully reimbursed for the first three amounts. That was $45,590.92. That was on 12/29, and then on 1/4, a total amount of $166.85 cleared. So we're fully reimbursed from DOLA for all of the money we put out so far for that COVID grant, and the $5,300 that we approved this in the consent agenda is the final bit of that. The one last thing that I had on as far as a financial report is after we put out the packet, Ralph got an invoice from Survey Standard LLC for $70. I want to ask the board to authorize me to pay that, and then I'll include that in next month's packet.
I so move.
Here's
I'll second.
Okay. Fred moves and Bill seconds. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Rob,
Thank you.
pay the bill.
All right. And I will just keep on moving into the foundation update. So we hired Amy Huckins as a part-time contractor. We've had one meeting with her. I think she's going to be a great help for the hospital foundation, kind of getting both the back end of stuff in order, but also one of the things we're going to be tasking her with is doing some development and fundraising work, which will help us continue to fund the in-hospital grant program and some other stuff that we may be looking at in the future. So we're really excited to have her on board, and that's all I have from the foundation.
Very good. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks.
I guess we'll move on to facilities. Ralph, are you on? Ralph?
Yes, I am on. I had to unmute there for a minute.
Okay.
The list of items that you asked me to cover in the agenda included DOLA, a DOLA update, and I've got Chris Burkett. You can see Chris is on here too. And I was just going to ask Chris to go ahead and update you guys about where we are with the preparation of the DOLA grant application.
Okay, thanks, Ralph. At the current time, the things that I have completed so far is I have sent a draft of, well, probably at least 3/4 of the questions being answered to both Dean and to Ralph just to take a look at. I have also sent a updated questionnaire for the application to Ralph with some of the other questions answered. And he did take a look at them and go, where are you going with some of this? So he and I are going to visit on those. But the way I answer some of the questions, I usually look outside the box, or think outside the box, you might say, and see if some things, like throw them against the wall, see if they stick, see if they don't. But at this point in time, I think questionnaire-wise on the application, we're standing in good stead. We've got not quite 3 weeks left before we can get everything is due to be turned in. I do have the W-9 completed. I also have the EFT completed and in my hands. I have the letter from the attorneys completed and in my hands. So those attachments are in my hands and ready to be uploaded at the time that we do the questionnaire online. The things that I'm currently waiting on is some additional information that Train has said they're willing to work on, and SSR. New section in the application this year dealt with resiliency. How is your facility or your project fit into any emergency situations? Are you planning ahead? Are you looking down the road, et cetera? And so I just needed some additional information and some guidance from the engineers and folks to help me take that direction. So I'm actually answering with a legible answer and not just something I've pulled out of the air. In addition, I have instigated contact with Patrick Rondinelli with DOLA, who is our contact in this part of the state. I know we had some, or DOLA had some concerns last time MCHD applied, and they were really pushing performance contracting. He's still pushing performance contracting. I think we have some answers for that because MCHD does not have any control over revenues or expenses. That's all under SHS. So MCHD can't promise that SHS is going to pay some of the money back if you try to go that way. I'm going to have to give that one some thought and maybe visit with Dean and Ralph some more on that one because his question was, well, why not? Why can't you work with them? And I didn't say that you can't work with them. I'm just saying essentially at this point, because they're two separate entities, one entity can't promise that the other one's going to make some payments down the road. So we're going to have to visit some more on that. I had also briefly visited with him about what SHS was doing and that we have a phase 1 and a phase 2. And he had kind of questioned, well, why can't you put them both together? So we'll be visiting on that a little bit also. I tried to put it to him that, well, they're two separate entities. One's doing their project and one's doing the other. But we're probably going to have to address that a little bit more strenuously than what we have done so far. I think that at this point in time, like I said, we're in pretty good shape to meet the deadline. And I think the one thing I am still needing, which will be brought up tonight, is a motion by the board that you apply for the grant through DOLA, taking official action to submit the application. That's one of the things that DOLA likes to have. And so I had sent Ralph a motion that could be made so that we can move forward and have that officially in the record of the meeting.
I've actually taken care of that, Chris, and we've
Did
got a
you?
resolution prepared, so.
Great. I missed the first part of the meeting. I had my invite, but there was no link to click on to join in. So I had to go back and forth with Dean and Ralph to get connected. So sorry for joining just a little late.
That's
Well,
okay.
while we're on it, should we just do a quick vote on that resolution that Kelly sent out by email?
Yeah, that'd be great if the board would be willing to take that up right now. And it's just a short resolution. I think hopefully everybody got it. If not, I don't know, Leah, if you can put that up or not for the board, if any of them didn't receive it. Basically, just a real short resolution says that the board has determined that it would be appropriate to make application for the DOLA Tier 1 grant in the amount of $200,000. That will be done on or before March 1st, so coming right up, and goes through the resolution issues and just says that is a resolution. So what we would need would be a motion from the board, and then a vote on that, so we could get this signed and delivered.
Also move.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, first and second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We'll get that to Chris to put in a packet.
Thank you, Leah.
That's great. Once you get it signed, if you just send a copy of it to me as a PDF, that'd be wonderful.
Do I need to come in, Kelly, and sign that then?
Yeah, we can circulate it if it's not convenient. It'd be easiest if you could drop by and sign it. We need you and Rob, I think, on that.
Okay. I can probably swing by tomorrow.
Yeah, I can come by tomorrow morning.
Great.
Hey, Chris and Dean, this is Tom. Do you need SHS at the table with any of those conversations you're having about some of the funding issues that you were asking about, Chris?
It might be helpful. I did pass on to Patrick that Dean would probably be giving him a call. I think that's one of the things that needs to be done. Someone from an official of the board needs to give Patrick a call saying, yes, we're going to apply, and see if Patrick has or will pass on any additional information. And if that's the case, Dean may want to have more than just himself on that phone call. Maybe want to do it as Zoom. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's
Okay.
better if it comes officially from the organization rather than just from me as a contact. They do ask when we fill out the application, when did you contact DOLA and how did you do it? And who did it? And I have to put that information in the application. So I always like to feel them out a little bit ahead of time just to see where they currently stand, see if things have changed, see what concerns might be. And again, like I said, it came back about doing performance contracting. The state is so short of dollars in their Energy Impact Assistance Fund that they're really trying to push folks to find alternative ways to fund whatever it is that they're trying to do. So I think it's a question that's going to linger for quite a while with DOLA until oil and gas and energy development really start to pick up again.
Yeah. Sorry, I doubt it picks up again for a while. So Chris, I'll get with you tomorrow if that works. I'll give you a call and
Sure.
And then I can give Patrick a call and then Tom, if we need to get you on the line with the conference call, I'll get with you.
Okay.
See
Sure.
what Patrick needs. Okay.
If it
Yeah.
looked like you guys need it, certainly one of us can be available also if you think you need some legal, just to be involved. I think we might be able to help with the explanations in terms of the different entities and how the two join together and work together, but sometimes have to work off separate boards and separate legal functions. So, but let us know if you need anything on that.
What I might do, I might call Patrick and just set up a conference call with him and get Tom and you, Kelly, so we're all on the line together. See when that might be able to happen.
I think that would be excellent. I know Patrick was asking some questions that I said I really can't answer. I don't know what the ramifications are, what the guidelines are, that what SHS can do or what MCHD can do, accounting wise or working together, et cetera. So you guys would have to answer those types of questions. And I always do encourage that more than one individual from the organization talk or speak with Patrick or Dola, because sometimes 2 or 3 people, you hear different things. You get to asking questions or answering questions, and you may miss a comment that the Dola rep may make because you're thinking of an answer to the question that he may have just asked or something. But it's always better with 2 or 3 of you do visit with them.
Dean, I'd be happy to sit in on that call too.
Okay. Well, I'll get with him, set up a conference call, and then I'll send out something to Kelly and Rob and Chris, and we'll go from there. Chris, I'll give you a holler tomorrow, Chris.
That'd be great.
Get your contact info. I don't think I have his contact info.
Okay.
All right. Okay, more on Dola. What's that?
I was just asking if anyone had any questions or needed any more information.
Okay, well, thanks, Chris. We appreciate your work.
You're welcome.
And yeah, we'll keep moving forward. Ralph, what are we looking at on the water line extension?
I talked to the designers the last couple of days, and I've had some emails back and forth with them. They will have a design package to us next week sometime. They are convinced that we will need to pump the water. I know, Dean, both you and Brandon have said we won't need a pump to get it up to the top zones in our system, but they are convinced that we will need a pump. I've asked them to put together their design package so that a pump could be added at some point, either as a bid alternate or after we've tried to run the system, and if we find out that we don't have enough pressure at the top of the system. So I should have a design next week from them that I'll share with some of you guys that are interested. I know, Dean, you and probably Brandon both are going to be interested in looking at it and maybe commenting on it.
Yes.
I don't know where we stand with the water purchase, and maybe now is a good time to understand that, so I don't go too far down the line with design fees and costs and stuff like that before we know that we've bought the water.
Yeah, let me update the board on that. We have circulated a contract to Keith. Keenan met with Keith the other day. I talked to him originally and kind of got the details, and so we have a really good working contract with one exception, and that is we need to set a number for the cost per share. And we had stuck $5,000 a share into the agreement. I guess we'll say more or less as a placeholder the agreement was, and what Keith always claims, is he would like to see fair market value for the stock. I think Brandon probably, is nice to have him on the board here. He can probably talk about this, but you know, it's been 5,000 for a good time. I think everybody just kind of considered that a reasonable number in between, you know, 4,500 and 5,500, but 5,000 kind of an average. But basically the way I left it with Keith was we would talk about it as a board. We'd see if we need to go in and actually do some kind of a analysis to get a fair market value, or if we just want to, you know, run through the last 6 months worth of sales that we can find and get some numbers. Another option would be just to go back to him if we think it's fair and reasonable. I think whatever we're doing here needs to be, you know, fair to both sides. But if we just came back and said, we think the price is pretty consistently around 5,000 or a little more. Brandon, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the going rate's around 5. It's with the shortage this year, it's going to go up. And the other low key note is there's other people that's making him offers that I know about. So whatever we got going, we better make the deal quick.
He came back and mentioned that he had kind of checked around and had seen the sale between 5,300. I guess he said somebody was offering stock for sale right now for 6,500. But I think he's saying he thinks it's somewhere, but he agreed. He says if 5,000 is the number, he's okay with that. But
so at the Dolores State Bank loans on one share $4,000, so that's up 200 from last year. I did find that out. There has been more shares sell for less. 1 to 5 shares sell for more. So I would think the board probably needs to either figure out 5,000 a share up to, I don't think I'd go any more than 52 right now. Now next year it's going to be a whole different ballgame, but somewhere in that buffer zone. And
okay.
You said 6,000, those were probably on the Moonlight, which MBI is maxed out on the Moonlight, and they're worth gold.
Oh yeah, that could be.
So that's why you hear that gossip.
Well, based on the numbers that I've seen, I would recommend to the board that you think 5,200, Brandon?
Well, at the highest, I don't know. I'd go 51.
Okay.
Split the difference.
Yeah. I was going to say 52, 53, because I mean, we want to do this and it doesn't make a lot of sense to probably quibble over $500, you know, difference in total price. But as you said earlier, we want to make the deal work and we want to get it done. And he's kind of got a corner on the market for us at least. So I think he's going to be fine as long as we're justifying it, as long as we're correct and we're saying that's reasonable fair market value.
Anyone else got an idea? Dean, you got water?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, he's kind of in a unique position that we need his water. So, I mean, I think 52 sounds fair to me for what's coming up. Looks like we're going to be in a bad year. So I think I agree with Brandon. We got to make an offer now and get it done. Otherwise we're going to pay double that later on.
Okay.
Close to it.
The one other question I have, Matt, are we buying the 5 or are we buying the 8 and the full capacity?
We're buying 5 and then we have an option to buy the other 3. We are buying the capacity for 8.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will do that then. I'll go ahead and we'll plug the number 5,200 if the rest of the board is okay with that.
Yep.
We don't really need a resolution, but okay.
This is Bill. I'm fine with that.
we
Good.
need to get going on it, so you know that, Kelly, so. that's-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. The next one is the phase 2 infrastructure plan. Ralph, where are we sitting with that?
But we've had a lot of phone calls about it. Of course, the DOLA grant application would go toward, any DOLA grant would go toward the funding of the phase 2 work. We have a design that's complete. Had discussions with Davis SSR and actually with Train. We have to, for our DOLA grant, we have to have a contractor's estimate of the cost of the work. And Train has offered to provide a detailed estimate for us. And we've said, yep, we'd appreciate that and ask them to do that. I don't really have a basis at this point to go to anybody else and ask them to do a bunch of work on pricing. I've assured them that that does not give them any kind of a inside track on the work when we get to a point where we can have contractors compete for the work. But they're supposed to provide us with their estimate of the costs of the phase 2 work by, I think, the 19th or the 20th of this month. And then that gives Chris time to get it plugged into the application and answer any questions that might come up between us at that point. But we're moving forward with the DOLA grant, and then after that, we'll have a way forward to putting this out for either competitive bids or for the construction manager, general contractor form of contract. There are probably benefits to both of those. And, I'll have some discussions with Dean about how we go forward, when we get to that point. So that's about all I have for you, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you, Ralph.
Okay, thank you.
Be good to move
Thank you,
forward
Ralph.
on that.
Thanks, Ralph.
So the other thing that I wanted to bring up tonight, have some discussion over, is a possible another ballot initiative for 2021. The original plan was to expand the ER with an urgent care, finish out the second floor, and maybe demo out the South Campus, depending on funding. And I wanted to see what the board's thoughts were on pursuing that ballot initiative for November.
I think the timing is bad. We don't know how far we're going to get through COVID. If it's going to be a non-problem by November or not. But so many governments are hurting. There's an awful lot of people unemployed. I'd rather not do it until we know the economy is more stable.
My question on that was to Kelly. What's the timeline on when would we have to make a decision and get something ready into the county office to get it on ballot if we wanted to?
We have to get the application and notice into the county. It's actually just a notice, not an application, but 100 days before the election. Looks like it's falls this year, July 23rd. So our last meeting for that decision would be our July meeting to move forward with it.
So we do have a little bit of time to.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to bring it up for discussion to see what the board thought about how what your thoughts were on that.
Well, Dean, what were you thinking of like an extension of the current tax or a different tax? What I guess I'm wondering what kind of ideas you had on that.
No, I wouldn't be thinking it'd be an extension. We wouldn't be able to do that till the current bond issue is completed, is my understanding. It would be an additional sales tax to expand what we've got, what's existing. So we've had some discussions with Tony. They're looking to bring on some more doctors for same-day surgeries and things like that. And so the project would be, and the original project was to expand the ER anyway. Our ER is in dire need of upgrades. It's not in the best shape. It just needs to be upgraded. And the other issue is having a ER combination with an urgent care. So when somebody's sick or hurt after hours or on the weekend, they're not going to the ER. They can go into that facility or go into that building and not pay an ER fee. Right now, same day only has normal business hours, and they're doing all they can, but there's no place for somebody to go after hours or on a weekend. And the other issue is once we moved into the ER, we would then expand same day to accommodate SHS's expanded surgery base. So it's an expansion for SHS on monetary. We get the ER and urgent care. And that was kind of the original plan when we first put this all together. Get the patient week done, see how it goes for a few years, and then start on the ER. Because if we wait too long, it's just going to get worse. And so it's just time to have that discussion. And the sales tax, as we know, a majority of it's paid for by tourism dollars, not local dollars. So we've proven that that's been the case. The community seems to have bought into it. And Gayla, with all due respect, I think this is actually the good time to do it, with all that's going on with COVID and all the expansions we need to upgrade our facility. I personally feel like it's the right time to do it. If we wait too long, it's just that much longer to wait. But I'm just one.
I'm kind of with Dean too. It's everyone's going there for shots. They're doing the COVID testing, good PR. Everyone's focused on everything they're doing, trying to help out. And I believe it's a good time now too.
Dean, what are you thinking about as far as what the tax would be on?
Well, the last tax, I wouldn't expect to have SHS be able to help fund an additional amount like we did on the patient wing. So if we went for the same sales tax, depending on what we're getting right now, if we did the same amount, the 0.4 cents, I believe it is, it's 15 million. And I think that ER 3 years ago was estimated to be 4 to 6. And then we were looking at a couple $1 million up on the second floor, 2 to 3. It would be my feeling that we would go in for about the same amount, maybe a tenth less, to try to get those things done. And the other issue is the longer we wait, the more expensive it is. If we wait another year or two, it just keeps going up in price. And the sales tax may not go through. It may take a couple times. So if we wait a couple years and then we have to go a couple times, we could be 7, 8 years before we get it done. And that's a long time to get that through, in my opinion. I don't know if that answers your
Dean,
question.
The one other question I had with that was do you think it would sunset the way the other one will, or would we maybe go for a permanent no sunset, and then when the other one sunsets, that one just sunsets? We don't go back.
I think we got to have it sunset. I think the taxpayer wants to know they're buying a certain thing,
Specific project.
and then when the thing is paid for, then we reevaluate. I think if we go for an unlimited tax, I think we'd never get it passed. That's my personal opinion. I think we got to fund these projects as we go. Now we can go for an extension, and if correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, but we can go for an extension when it sunsets to fund new infrastructure issues or new build outs, but you've got to state what those are. You have to state what those are every time it sunsets.
Yeah, essentially what you have to do is you've got to go back. It's a new ballot issue and essentially get the, I mean, it's really no different than saying we want 4/10 of 1% in for another 10 years. And so, but yeah, it's a matter of taking it to the voters and getting them to approve it. Whether you just are going to say we want another 5 years, or we want 10 years, or we want whatever you want, and the amount that you want. So it's a matter of convincing them that there's a reason to do that. The project's been paid for theoretically at that time that they originally voted for. A lot of people think it's better to, instead of extending it, just do a new ballot issue.
Right.
Kelly, what's the date of the sunset of the current 0.04%?
37.
What was that?
I think it was 15 years. So was it 27? No, 37. Wasn't it, Kelly? No,
Oh,
31. 31.
I think, yeah, I have to look at it. I don't recall off the
It was
top of my
30.
head, Robert.
I think it was 2031. It's because we're into 5 years right now with it.
Yeah, past 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think it's
we're into 5. So it terminates
somewhere around
sometime in-
2030.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the SHS perspective, I think Dean addressed part of what my concern would be. Obviously, if we got a tax that would fund the whole thing, that would be great. I'm assuming there would still be some, well, I know there would have to be some additional debt incurred to fund it up front. So obviously Zion Bank's going to have some input on whether that would be okay or not. And actually, we still are in a forbearance arrangement, so they may have a little bit of pushback on that. The other thing, Dean and I talked a little bit about what would be the priority on this, and I agree, and I think that's right. One thing I would hope that we would do, and we certainly would look at doing this, is doing a master's facility plan, just to make sure that we're targeting exactly where we need to go. The reality is our clinic is full right now. We are struggling to figure out how we're going to put the additional doctors in that we've already got coming. So there's obviously going to be, we're going to figure out something about how to address that too. So definitely want to make sure we get that right. That's and something we would be certainly want to do as an organization before we committed to additional funds. But also told Dean the one thing that I thought that from one perspective, while everything is going on, yeah, that's not necessarily a positive. But what is a positive right now is I think we've probably got more goodwill with the community than we've had in quite some time. If COVID did nothing else, it kind of changed our perception with the community a little bit. And so I would hope that that would play into a positive in trying to do something like this. So, just my observations as we talk about this a little bit more.
Yeah, I've had quite a few people actually tell me that they're coming to Cortez, believe it or not, to get their COVID shots and get care from elsewhere, out of state, on the northern part of the state. They're having a hard time. So we were really, that's true, Tony. We are getting a lot of goodwill right now with the way that things are being handled. It's all good. And I think people recognize that we need to be making sure that we have the facilities to handle what everybody needs.
Right. Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. We're getting calls from Aspen. We're getting all over the state, really.
Yeah.
People who can't get shots locally are actually looking at our clinic.
Yeah, and I could definitely second that. I've heard from countless people that have really appreciated the leadership that SHS and that the hospital has taken throughout throughout COVID, and I think that buys a lot of goodwill as well.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
And not only that, but also the financial management over the last year, 18 months, that really has been a big turnaround and a big turnaround in leadership in general. So I do think that the community has a strong belief in the hospital at the moment.
Good.
Quick question. This is Tom. Have we heard of any other ballot initiatives that would be out there that we'd have to compete against, or MCHD would have to compete against?
I haven't heard of anything, Tom. Not to say that there isn't, but
Yeah, I don't think there's
I think
anything
get-
for the
getting
fall
it.
that I know of.
Okay, good. Okay, good. I thought I had heard something, but that may have been hearsay. Anything you can do to get ahead of anybody else's initiative would be good.
yeah.
Just to add here, we have a design for about a 70% design for an expansion of the emergency department that we did with Davis while Kat was still involved. I think that's where Dean's going back to possibly what the pricing would be to expand that emergency department. And I know that design would have to be looked at again in light of what we know today and how things have changed. But we've got a starting point if that's the direction that you want to go.
I think we're about 80 or 70 or 80% on the second floor. Is that correct, Ralph?
Dean, I don't think that we've got that much. We've got a kind of a schematic design, which might be a 50% design. We went through a number of iterations about what was going to happen up there, and I don't think we ever carried it beyond just the schematic design level, which is probably, a 50% design. But on the emergency department, we carried it to the design development level, I believe, which would be, 70% or more of a design, a complete design. Something I can explore with Davis if you'd like for me to. I will throw this out there also. Tony says the clinic is full. Well, that clinic was designed, the MOB was designed to add a third floor to it if we want to sometime in the future. So that's also a possibility if you want to really reach out there and, get something like that done.
How
That's a good thought.
disruptive would it be to put a third floor on that? I mean, that sounds like it would be a major disruption. But if it was designed to be able to do that, it must be feasible. Is that?
It is feasible, but I think, Tony could probably speak to it better than I could, but it would be very disruptive to the ongoing treatment, to the care that's going on in there right now.
Yeah, I would think it would be. It always sounds great. I've spreaded it before, and I know I've been in places we've done it before that, you've got this ability to go up if you need to, but then you start looking at it and figure out what the complication factors are and figure out it's probably better to go a different direction. But certainly something we could look at for sure.
It's good discussion. I think we've got a little time. I'd like to keep it on the agenda for the next meeting. I think that it might be something that looks like we want to make a decision on to move forward or not, and then start having some, if we decide to move forward with the initiative, that we need to get together with SHS and see, have them review those plans and make sure it fits in there and what they're looking at. So I appreciate that discussion. Is there any more comments on that?
Well, I would like to have some ballpark figures on what kind of costs we're talking about. We probably could go to our previous contractor to get an idea of the cost for the ER, but those figures are old. So we need an estimate of costs for what's going to happen before we can decide what kind of what amount of a sales tax to even consider. Because as you've said, Dean, SHS is probably not going to be able to contribute like they have on the previous expansion, although their finances are a whole lot better than they were before, so maybe they can.
Well, and that's kind of loaded. They'll be contributing because they're going to have to staff it. So I'm sure Tony's scratching his head right now, like, oh, great, we got to hire more guys. But yeah, we can do that. Gail, if the board wants to try to get some preliminary estimates, I know Ralph's got nothing else to do, so
right.
we could probably try to get try to work towards that direction. But yeah, if we're gonna do this, I know it seems like we have a lot of time, but if that's the case and you want estimates, we'd have to start looking at that pretty quick.
Well, you're going to have estimates before you can decide what amount to put in for a tax, whatever kind of tax it is. You can't just pick a figure out of the air. So if we're going to think about this, and it shouldn't cost that much to get some ballpark figures. And some ballpark figures for SHS as to whether they can contribute toward it, and if so, how much. I see no reason why we shouldn't go forward with it, but the estimate of cost is really the basis, the thing that we have to begin with.
The people who might be in the best position to give us some basic cost estimates might be Davis. They do a lot of healthcare work. They're working all over the state of Colorado and really in other parts of the country too. I will make a call tomorrow to them and start a discussion with them about what it might take to come up with an estimate for an ER expansion. I'm not thinking at this point that we ought to go to some contractors and say, hey, will you help us with this?
Oh, no, I think it's too early to ask any contractor to give you an estimate unless it was none, because they're more familiar with what we've done in the past. But just some ballpark figures. Are we talking $5 million or are we talking $25 million? It makes a difference.
I'll make some phone calls.
I hope we're
tomorrow.
talking 15.
Okay.
Davis, and see what I can find out.
Okay, thanks, Ralph.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. Okay, any more discussion on that topic? Okay, Kelly, I guess you're up on the attorney report.
Well, I think we covered everything I had on my list this evening already, so I think we're good. I don't have anything to add unless there are questions.
Okay.
Good.
Well, is there anything else anybody has for tonight? If not, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Take care. Thanks for your help.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Night.
Take care, Rick.
Night, everybody.